The genesis of genius. A mind unbound by convention. There was once a small village nestled in the rolling hills near Florence, where a child was born who would go on to change the world. His name was Leonardo da Vinci, a name that now echoes through the annals of history as a symbol of limitless potential and groundbreaking creativity. But this genius, whose works continue to inspire centuries later, wasn't always destined for greatness. In fact, when Leonardo was born in 1452, few could have foreseen the scope of his influence. He was an illegitimate child, the son of a respected notary and a peasant woman, and his birth did not come with the advantages of wealth, status, or formal education. In an era where most children were carefully guided through the structured confines of a formal education, Leonardo's path was strikingly different. He was not bound by the rigid curriculum that dominated schools of the time. Instead, he found his schooling in the very fabric of the world around him. From a young age, Leonardo's mind was alive with questions. Why did the river flow in such a way? How did the wings of a bird allow it to soar? What made the stars twinkle at night? And how could humans harness the forces of nature? While most children were learning their letters and numbers, Leonardo's attention was captured by something more profound: nature itself. He didn't just study it. He became consumed by it. He was an insatiable observer, absorbing the world with a curiosity that knew no bounds. His education was unconventional, consisting of hours upon hours of observation and self-directed study. No textbooks or lectures could contain the brilliance that flowed from his mind. His learning came from experience, from watching, from questioning. Nature, in all its intricacy, was his teacher, and his mind began to build a library of knowledge that far outstripped that of many of his contemporaries. By the time he was in his teens, Leonardo had already established himself as someone who was different. At the age of 15, he entered an apprenticeship under the renowned sculptor and painter Andrea del Verrocchio. This was a critical moment in his development, for it provided him with the tools of art and craft that would later serve as the foundation for his more imaginative and scientific endeavors. But it was not just art that caught Leonardo's attention. It was the human body, its movements, its structure, its function. The intricacies of the anatomy fascinated him, and he began to study it with an intensity that bordered on obsession. Leonardo's genius lay not just in his ability to create, but in his unyielding curiosity about how everything worked. His notebooks, filled with sketches, diagrams, and notes, reflect a mind that was not content to simply observe the world. He wanted to understand it at the deepest level. From detailed studies of the human form to designs for flying machines, war engines, and even early prototypes of the modern helicopter, Leonardo's imagination seemed to know no bounds. His inventions were as revolutionary as they were ahead of their time, but they were also incomplete, sometimes sketched out only in the pages of his notebooks, sometimes just abandoned halfway through. It was as if the ideas in his mind were endless, but his ability to finish them, to bring them into the world, was something that constantly eluded him. This was the paradox of Leonardo da Vinci. He was a man whose imagination could leap across centuries, but whose ability to execute his dreams was hindered by his own relentless pursuit of perfection. The world would come to know him as a master painter, scientist, engineer, and inventor, but during his lifetime, he often saw himself as a failure. He was a man who struggled with doubt, with frustration, and with a chronic inability to finish what he started. As he grew older, Leonardo became notorious for his procrastination. His many projects would often begin with great fanfare, with incredible ambition, only to be left unfinished or incomplete. One of the most notable examples of this was his work on the Adoration of the Magi, an altarpiece commissioned by the monks of San Donato. His initial sketches for the painting were filled with intricate detail and grand ideas, but he struggled to bring it to completion. The canvas would remain unfinished for years, abandoned in the wake of new ideas that Leonardo would chase with the same intensity. For all of his brilliance, Leonardo's inability to finish his work became a source of frustration and self-doubt. He was often plagued by the fear of imperfection, which prevented him from completing many of his projects. This fear, along with his tendency to overthink and overanalyze, led him to constantly delay, to continually tweak and refine his ideas until they were, in his eyes, never quite good enough. It was this perfectionism that kept him from achieving what he could have. And yet, despite all of this, Leonardo da Vinci did not remain in the shadows of his doubts. His life, full of unfinished projects and unrealized ambitions, still led him to create some of the most iconic works the world has ever seen. But how did he push past his own inner demons? What allowed him to continue working despite his own fear of failure and perfectionism? This is where his story truly begins to resonate with each of us. For, despite the vast gulf between our lives and his, there is something universal in Leonardo's experience. It is the story of someone who, like so many of us, struggles with procrastination, fear of failure, and self-doubt. It's the story of someone who, despite being one of the greatest minds in history, still had to wrestle with the same insecurities we all face when confronted with a daunting task. And ultimately, it is the story of how one man, through perseverance and self-compassion, managed to transcend his own limitations and create something that has changed the world forever. The paradox of procrastination, a genius at war with himself. Leonardo da Vinci's life reveals an important lesson. Even the greatest minds can be paralyzed by the weight of their own thoughts, their own expectations, and their own fears. His reluctance to finish projects was not the result of laziness, but of an overwhelming desire to get everything just right. A desire that, while admirable, often kept him from taking the necessary steps to complete his work. Like so many of us, Leonardo was caught in the trap of perfectionism. He believed that if something couldn't be done perfectly, it wasn't worth doing at all. The fear of failure haunted him, just as it haunts many of us. And yet, despite these internal battles, he pressed on. Despite not finishing as many projects as he could have, despite the countless missed deadlines, Leonardo's contributions were still world-changing. Leonardo's story is a reminder to us all that the path to greatness is not always linear. There will be struggles, moments of doubt, and times when it feels as though we are not moving forward. But it is in those moments of struggle that our most important lessons are learned. It is in those times of procrastination, fear, and self-doubt that we must remember. Perfection is not the goal. The goal is to take action, to move forward, to trust that our work, even if incomplete, is still valuable. It is easy to look at the finished works of Leonardo da Vinci, his Mona Lisa, his Last Supper, and forget that these masterpieces were the result of years of struggle, doubt, and imperfection. It is easy to see the end result and forget the journey that got him there. But it is in the journey, in the daily acts of creation and persistence, that true greatness is achieved. The struggle behind the genius, the battle with self-doubt. Leonardo da Vinci, despite his remarkable talent, was not the picture of confidence that we often associate with world-renowned geniuses. Behind his celebrated works, there was a man who fought deeply with himself, constantly battling feelings of inadequacy and fear. While history remembers him as one of the most accomplished minds of all time, he himself often felt far from exceptional. He was not immune to the crippling self-doubt and perfectionism that many of us experience. And yet, despite all of this, he created a legacy that still shapes the world today. Imagine living a life where your mind races with ideas and visions of greatness, yet you are haunted by the paralyzing thought that you will never be able to bring those ideas to fruition. For Leonardo, this was a constant struggle. He knew that he was capable of extraordinary things, but the enormity of his ambitions often left him feeling overwhelmed. The fear of failure loomed large, and it was in the quiet moments of reflection that the pressure of his unrealized projects took its toll. Leonardo's notebooks, filled with detailed sketches of inventions, anatomical studies, and visions of the future, were testament to the vastness of his imagination. Yet, for all the brilliance contained within those pages, many of his ideas were never fully realized. The designs for flying machines, war engines, and hydraulic systems, all groundbreaking concepts, were left unfinished. It was as if the very brilliance that made him extraordinary also kept him from moving forward. He became trapped in an endless cycle of planning and revising, unable to take that final step to complete his work. In a letter to his patron, Ludovico Sforza, the Duke of Milan, Leonardo once admitted, "I have wasted time, and I regret that it is lost to me forever." This admission, so candid and vulnerable, shows just how deeply he was aware of his own struggles. Despite being one of the greatest minds of his time, he couldn't escape the self-imposed pressure to be perfect. Every project he began became another opportunity to fail in his eyes, another chance to fall short of his own high standards. The challenge of starting and finishing projects haunted him throughout his life. One of the most iconic examples of this was the famous mural, The Last Supper, which Leonardo painted in the convent of Santa Maria del Grisi in Milan. When he was tasked with this monumental piece, he approached it with the same passion and dedication that he did every project. But just as before, his tendency to refine and perfect his work resulted in delays. The painting, though finished, was not completed until after several years of delays and reworks. Even then, Leonardo continued to make changes to the piece long after it was technically done, always striving for an elusive perfection that never fully satisfied him. The paradox is clear. Leonardo's fear of imperfection actually prevented him from achieving what could have been his greatest triumphs. He was not satisfied with the work that was already extraordinary. He constantly sought to improve and adjust, sometimes to the point of diminishing returns. This is a reality many of us face. We delay our work because we fear that it is not perfect, and in doing so, we often fail to finish it all. Leonardo's story, however, is not one of perpetual failure, though it may seem so at times. His legacy is one of remarkable vision, creativity, and innovation, but it also serves as a mirror to our own experiences. The pressure to be perfect can sometimes prevent us from even starting. How often have we looked at a project or task and thought, "It's not worth doing unless it's done perfectly"? How many times have we postponed something, waiting for the perfect moment, only to find that the opportunity passed us by? Leonardo's life teaches us that perfectionism can be paralyzing. It leads to hesitation, to never-ending revisions, and to an endless cycle of second-guessing ourselves. But the beauty of his story lies in the fact that, despite this, he still managed to create something that changed the world. His imperfections, his delays, and his fears did not define him. What defined him was his ability to keep going, even when the finish line seemed distant and elusive. In fact, Leonardo's ability to accept that his work would never be perfect is perhaps one of the most important lessons we can learn from him. In his later years, as his works began to gain more attention and recognition, he came to understand that the act of creation itself was far more important than achieving perfection. The pursuit of knowledge, the exploration of ideas, and the process of creating were what mattered most. What is even more striking is that Leonardo's works, for all their unfinished elements, are still celebrated as masterpieces. The Mona Lisa, perhaps the most famous painting in the world, is filled with mystery, its smile both enigmatic and beautiful. Yet there was never a point in Leonardo's life when he felt it was complete. He continued to adjust and refine it over the years, never fully content with the result. And yet, the world regards it as one of the most remarkable artistic achievements in history. This should be a reminder to us all. Sometimes, the pursuit of perfection can obscure the inherent beauty of the work itself. It is the imperfections, the unfinished elements, and the raw humanity within our creations that often make them so powerful. In many ways, Leonardo da Vinci's legacy is an embodiment of the human condition, a mix of brilliance, doubt, and imperfection. We all have moments where we feel like we aren't doing enough, or that we could do better. But Leonardo shows us that it is not about being flawless. It is about pushing forward, no matter how many times we fail, no matter how many ideas go unfinished. The act of moving forward is what matters most. Leonardo's story, while inspiring, is also a warning. Don't wait for the perfect moment to begin. Don't hold back because you fear failure. The fear of making mistakes can be a powerful force, but it should not be the one that dictates the course of your life. Perfection is an illusion. There is no such thing as the perfect time, the perfect plan, or the perfect work. What matters is that you start, that you commit, and that you keep moving forward. Like Leonardo, even if your projects remain unfinished or imperfect, the world will still see the impact of your efforts. So, what's stopping you from starting? What is holding you back from making progress on the ideas that have been swirling in your mind for years? If Leonardo da Vinci, a man who truly changed the world with his creativity, could wrestle with procrastination, perfectionism, and self-doubt, then surely we too can find a way to overcome our fears and take that first step. As we reflect on the lessons from Leonardo's life, we are reminded that the journey of creation is messy, imperfect, and often filled with obstacles. But it is also a journey that holds the potential to transform the world, not just for us, but for those who will come after us. If we allow ourselves to take action, even in the face of uncertainty, we too can change the world in our own way. Leonardo's greatness did not lie in the number of completed works he left behind, but in the breadth of his vision, the depth of his curiosity, and his willingness to keep trying. Even if his projects remained unfinished, his contributions to art, science, and the human understanding of the world are undeniable. It is his ability to dream, to explore, and to continue pushing the boundaries of what was possible that truly defines his legacy. And this is the message he leaves for us all. Perfection is not the goal. The goal is to begin, to try, and to keep moving forward, no matter how many times we fall short. The power of persistence, embracing imperfection. Despite all of Leonardo's brilliance, it's important to recognize the very human struggle he endured. The story of Leonardo da Vinci is one of extraordinary gifts tempered by the challenges of self-doubt, procrastination, and the haunting fear that nothing he did would ever be enough. Yet, his legacy continues to inspire us today, not because he achieved perfection, but because he never gave up. Leonardo's life serves as a reminder that greatness is not a product of flawless execution, but of relentless persistence. His genius did not stem from a place of certainty or from an ability to achieve his ideals with ease. Rather, it arose from his willingness to persist, even in the face of overwhelming self-doubt. Though many of his projects remained incomplete or flawed in his own eyes, his contributions to the world were immeasurable. The power of persistence, especially in the face of imperfection, is something we often overlook. We live in a world that celebrates completed projects, polished products, and tangible results. We're encouraged to finish what we start, to deliver something complete, something perfect. And yet, the very nature of life's grandest achievements, whether in art, science, or personal growth, is far messier than we like to admit. It is through trial, error, and persistence that true innovation takes place. Consider the works that Leonardo did leave behind. The Last Supper, despite all its delays and the artist's perfectionist tendencies, remains a monumental achievement. It has inspired centuries of artists, theologians, and philosophers. Similarly, the Mona Lisa, although never truly finished by Leonardo himself, is still one of the most recognized and celebrated pieces of art in history. The imperfections within these works, the changes, the layers, the unfinished quality, only serve to make them more profound. They speak to the complexity of the human experience, the trials of creation, and the paradox of striving for something unattainable. But what would have happened if Leonardo had given in to his self-doubt? What if he had allowed the fear of imperfection to prevent him from beginning in the first place? What if he had allowed his fear of rejection or failure to paralyze him before his brush ever touched the canvas, or before he ever sketched his first anatomical diagram? His genius would have remained buried within him, lost to history. There would have been no Mona Lisa to inspire generations, no Vitruvian Man to influence the study of human proportions for centuries to come, no inventions that, although never built in his time, laid the foundation for future technological revolutions. The truth is, Leonardo's greatness was not solely in his talent, it was in his courage to continue, to face rejection and failure, and to keep pushing forward even when his work was far from perfect. Each unfinished sketch, each incomplete project, each failed attempt was simply a step toward greater things. He may have never fully completed every idea he had, but he laid down the groundwork for the rest of us to pick up. He taught us that even if we don't achieve our ultimate vision, our efforts still matter. They matter because the world changes with every step forward we take. Perhaps one of the most crucial lessons from Leonardo's life is the importance of embracing the process. Too often, we fixate on the destination, the end result. We think that success is measured only by completion. We believe that we must cross the finish line in a triumphant moment of achievement, but in reality, success is often measured by the willingness to keep going, to remain engaged in the process, no matter how long it takes. It is the act of doing, of creating, of moving forward despite the odds that holds true value. Leonardo himself seemed to understand this on some level. His notebooks were filled not just with ideas, but with sketches, mistakes, thoughts, and moments of self-reflection. They were a testament to his unwavering commitment to explore the world around him, to capture it in all its complexity, and to do so without expectation of perfection. He didn't shy away from his flaws or the unfinished nature of his work. Instead, he used them as stepping stones, constantly evolving and growing from one idea to the next. For all the projects that remained incomplete in his lifetime, Leonardo da Vinci's life was anything but wasted. He spent his days immersed in the pursuit of knowledge, guided by curiosity and the desire to understand the world. His legacy is not just in the pieces of art and inventions that have survived to this day, but in the example he set for how to approach life itself, with an open mind, an unwavering commitment to growth, and a willingness to let go of perfection in favor of progress. This is a lesson that resonates with us today, especially in a world that seems obsessed with instant results. We live in an age of quick fixes, of viral moments, and of immediate success. We are bombarded by images of flawless achievements and rapid accomplishments, and it's easy to feel disheartened when our own efforts don't seem to measure up. But Leonardo's life reminds us that greatness takes time, and often, it doesn't look the way we expect it to. In many ways, his story is one of perseverance over perfection. For all his struggles with procrastination and self-doubt, Leonardo never stopped trying. Even when faced with failure or rejection, he continued to pursue his passion for learning and creating. It wasn't about achieving the perfect result. It was about the pursuit itself, the willingness to keep moving, to keep experimenting, to keep dreaming. We all have ideas, dreams, and projects that we start with great enthusiasm, only to find ourselves stuck, overwhelmed, or discouraged. It's natural to feel that way. And Leonardo's life offers us an important reminder. It's okay to fail. It's okay to not finish everything. And it's okay if things don't turn out perfectly. The important thing is to keep going. Take one step at a time. Make progress, however small. And most importantly, embrace the process. When you look at the life of Leonardo da Vinci, you don't see a series of perfect, completed works. You see a journey, one filled with unfinished sketches, half-formed inventions, and unfulfilled ideas. But within that journey, there is brilliance. There is passion. There is a relentless pursuit of knowledge and a courage to fail in order to learn. Just like Leonardo, we must learn to embrace the beauty of imperfection. It is through our imperfections that we discover what truly matters. The joy of learning, the thrill of discovery, and the value of pushing forward despite the odds. The world may never see every dream realized, every project completed, or every idea fully developed. But the impact of those dreams, even if they remain unfinished, can ripple across time. Our mistakes, our doubts, our false starts, and our incomplete work are all part of the greater journey. The journey that, if we persist, will ultimately lead us to something greater than perfection. Leonardo da Vinci's story teaches us that life isn't about creating flawless masterpieces. It's about daring to create it all. So, as you embark on your own journey, remember this: the process is the reward. Embrace the imperfections, keep moving forward, and above all, trust that your efforts, no matter how small or incomplete, have the power to change the world. Redefining success: the legacy of the procrastinator. As we reflect on the life of Leonardo da Vinci, it becomes apparent that the true measure of success in his story is not found in the number of completed works or in the accolades he received. His journey reveals a deeper truth. Success is not defined by the finished product, but by the courage to begin, the willingness to persist, and the embrace of one's imperfections. Leonardo's life was not about ticking off every box on a to-do list or achieving perfection in everything he touched. It was about the relentless pursuit of knowledge, the joy of discovery, and the acceptance that, sometimes, greatness lies in the unfinished. We often think of success in terms of finality: the completed project, the signed contract, the applause at the end of a performance. But Leonardo da Vinci challenges this notion. He never fully completed many of his great ideas. His inventions remained sketches, his paintings were constantly in flux, and his theories were often left in draft form. Yet, in spite of this, his contributions continue to reverberate through history. His influence extends far beyond the works he completed, for it is his curiosity, his courage to question the world around him, and his passion for learning that truly define his legacy. Leonardo's story teaches us a valuable lesson about redefining what it means to succeed. In our modern world, we often associate success with tangible results. We are told that in order to be successful, we must complete our tasks, achieve our goals, and be recognized for our accomplishments. But what happens when we fall short? What happens when we don't finish, or when our best efforts still don't seem enough? Many of us, like Leonardo, might experience feelings of failure or inadequacy in those moments. But the story of Leonardo da Vinci reveals that success is not confined to what is completed. It is defined by the pursuit itself. Think about the legacy of Leonardo's work. His paintings, such as the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper, have inspired countless artists and thinkers throughout the centuries. But these works were not the result of flawless execution. They were born out of years of study, trial, and error. In fact, the Last Supper was created under immense pressure, with Leonardo struggling with his own perfectionism throughout the process. The painting, while now seen as a masterpiece, was completed with immense effort and countless revisions. Yet, despite all the revisions and imperfections, it has stood the test of time as one of the most influential works in the history of art. Similarly, Leonardo's scientific and engineering pursuits, which often remained unfinished in his lifetime, laid the groundwork for future breakthroughs. His designs for flying machines, submarines, and mechanical devices, though never realized in his time, would later inspire inventors and scientists for centuries to come. His notebooks, filled with sketches and observations, offered a window into a mind that was constantly probing, exploring, and imagining. While his inventions were not all realized in his lifetime, the ideas themselves carried an immeasurable impact on the world. Leonardo's life reminds us that success is not always about achieving the final product or completing a project. It is about the act of creation itself, the act of pushing the boundaries of what is possible, of questioning what we know, and of daring to pursue the unknown. Success lies in the willingness to take risks, to embrace failure, and to keep moving forward despite setbacks. It is not about waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect conditions to begin. It is about starting, even when the path ahead seems unclear. Leonardo's struggles with procrastination and perfectionism are not the flaws that define him, but rather the very qualities that make his legacy so powerful. His ability to create despite these challenges is a testament to the importance of persistence. He did not allow his imperfections to stop him from pursuing his dreams. Instead, he kept moving forward, knowing that each attempt, each sketch, each trial was a step closer to realizing something meaningful. Even if his work was never fully completed, it was still valuable. Each unfinished project was a part of his larger journey of discovery. In this way, Leonardo da Vinci's story is one that speaks to all of us, especially those who struggle with procrastination, perfectionism, or the fear of failure. We can all relate to his battles with self-doubt, with the feeling that we are not doing enough, or that our efforts are never quite good enough. But Leonardo shows us that it is not about being perfect. It is about being present in the process, about committing to the journey, and about trusting that our work, no matter how incomplete, will have an impact. Leonardo's life also teaches us the importance of curiosity, of remaining open to new ideas, of seeking knowledge in unexpected places, and of never stopping the pursuit of understanding. His curiosity about the world around him was what fueled his genius. He was constantly asking questions, constantly exploring, and constantly learning. It was this insatiable curiosity that led him to create some of the most profound works of art and science in history. His curiosity never waned, even when his projects remained unfinished. This, perhaps more than anything else, is the core of his legacy: the unyielding desire to learn, to explore, and to grow. We can all learn from this example. In our own lives, we may encounter roadblocks, delays, or moments when we feel that we have failed. But rather than letting these obstacles define us, we can choose to continue our journey of discovery, just as Leonardo did. We can choose to keep creating, to keep asking questions, and to keep exploring the world around us. We can take inspiration from his ability to find meaning in the process, rather than in the final outcome. Leonardo's work wasn't always recognized during his lifetime, and many of his ideas were never fully realized. But that does not diminish the impact he had on the world. His story is a reminder that success is not always immediate, and that the road to greatness is rarely straightforward. Sometimes, the most significant contributions are made by those who never quite finish, who never quite reach the end of the road, but who continue to journey on nonetheless. So, Leonardo's legacy is a testament to the power of persistence and the courage to pursue one's passions, even in the face of doubt and imperfection. His life teaches us that we do not need to be perfect in order to make a difference. What matters is that we show up, that we create, and that we continue to push forward. Even if our work is never completed, even if we never achieve the vision we once had, our efforts are not in vain. Every step forward, every piece of knowledge gained, every moment of creation is valuable. So when you find yourself struggling with procrastination, perfectionism, or the fear of failure, remember Leonardo. Remember that the act of creation is more important than the final product. Embrace the journey, embrace the imperfections, and keep moving forward. Your work, no matter how incomplete, will have an impact. And who knows, it might just change the world in ways you never imagined. The unfinished symphony of life. Leonardo da Vinci's life, full of brilliance and imperfection, reminds us of one undeniable truth: the pursuit of greatness is never a straight path. It is filled with moments of doubt, hesitation, and fear of failure. Yet it is also defined by the courage to keep moving forward, even when the journey feels incomplete. Leonardo's legacy is not measured by the number of projects he finished, but by the countless ideas he sparked, the questions he asked, and the discoveries he made. Through his struggles with procrastination and perfectionism, we learn that success is not always about finishing what we start, but about daring to begin in the first place. It's about having the courage to explore, to make mistakes, and to embrace imperfection. Leonardo's life teaches us that every step, every attempt, no matter how small or unfinished, has value. The process of creation, the joy of discovery, and the growth that comes from pushing through obstacles. These are the things that truly define success. In our own lives, we are often faced with the same battles of self-doubt, procrastination, and the fear that our efforts may not be good enough. But just as Leonardo da Vinci's work continues to inspire generations, so too can our imperfect efforts leave a lasting impact. The key is to take action, to keep creating, to keep learning, and to trust that each effort, even if incomplete, contributes to the greater story of our lives. So let Leonardo's story serve as a powerful reminder. Perfection is an illusion. What matters is the pursuit, the willingness to engage in the journey, and the determination to keep moving forward, no matter the obstacles. In the end, it's not the finished product that defines us. It's the courage to try, to fail, and to try again. Life, much like Leonardo's work, is an unfinished masterpiece. And that's okay. For in the unfinished lies the potential for greatness. Each step we take, each challenge we face, each creation we begin is a part of our own legacy, one that will continue to evolve, to grow, and to inspire long after we're gone. So, what's stopping you from starting? What unfinished masterpiece lies within you, waiting to be brought to life? Embrace the process, let go of perfection, and step forward with confidence. For, like Leonardo, the world is waiting to see what you can create. This concludes the story. Thank you for watching until the end. I hope you found it enjoyable. If you did, please consider liking the video and sharing it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell for more captivating stories. Have a great day.